Good morning, everyone. Julian Assange arrested in London. I don't know how this is gonna play out. I have no idea. This is some movement and something that I've been waiting to hear about since 2016. And I mean, October 2016, right? If you were paying attention, that was a big date. And proof of life and all sorts of other stuff. That's the first picture I've seen of Julian Assange in 3 years. My goodness, it's a long time. And it's a long time to be imprisoned in an embassy. And it's an interesting thing to be just summarily pulled out of that embassy and what next? Is publishing files that a government doesn't want published, is that illegal? Is Julian Assange the main person who should be held responsible for that if it is indeed illegal? Isn't that what newspapers are supposed to do? And isn't that what freedom of the press is supposed to protect? I thought, right? These things were leaked to him. He didn't steal them. He published them. That's protected. It used to be. And so this whole thing this is part of what woke me up and had me looking at things differently than maybe some other people, that have me looking at Justin Trudeau differently than I did back in 2015, right? And so I'm interested to see what happens next. How does Trump handle this? How does the United Kingdom handle this? How does the world handle this? Is WikiLeaks done as an organization? I have no idea. But it's news. It's happening. It's interesting. Other news in the world as well. Canadians should avoid all travel to the Sudan amid ongoing military coup. And this broke very, very recently. So Canadians should avoid all travel to Sudan as the country is currently being rocked by a military coup, deposing their longtime leader. And this has been 30-year leader. So very interesting. Links in the description. This is international news that transcends politics. This is big stuff that happens. People are going to have to be talking about this stuff. Our embassy has been closed in the Sudan because of this coup, right? Interesting. This is all big, big news. And here is an interesting post posted by the CBC and written by Robin Urbach. So here we go. She says, and it's an opinion piece, but an opinion piece I liked. So here we go. Changing Canada's asylum laws is nothing but a crass political calculation by Trudeau. Robin Urbach. Yes, I agree. The Liberal caucus would have had a collective aneurysm just a few months ago if a senior political opponent had talked about, quote, asylum shopping when referring to refugees who cross illegally into Canada. The implication they'd cry is that those risking their lives to seek refuge in Canada are simply economic migrants, not families desperate to find a safe place to call home. The reality, of course, is that while many migrants might genuinely see Canada as the only safe place for them in North America, and perhaps that's true, many who have crossed into Canada at unofficial entry points have not met the criteria for refugee protection for various reasons. Slightly more than half of the finalized refugee claims of these applicants were rejected in the last quarter of 2018. And I've reported before, this is me, not Robin, I've reported before that 90% do not qualify under our current system. Period. Hands down, just gone. I don't know why the number is 50%. I'll have to look into it. But the last time I've read it, and I have been keeping a close eye on it, it's 90% don't qualify. And I don't know about deportation. So maybe it's the difference between the people who qualify and the amount of people they deport. Okay, I scroll down. The system has been under enormous strain with asylum seekers waiting for up to 2 years for just a hearing. And the integrity of the process itself has been under intense pressure based partly on the impression that migrants crossing into Canada illegally are using a loophole in the Safe Third Country Agreement to qualify for a hearing when they otherwise would have just been sent back to the U.S. The situation is thus a fraught and messy one, which unquestionably makes it deserving of criticism and careful analysis. Yet that is something Liberals have been fiercely intolerant of the past 3.5 years. Back in January, Immigration Minister Ahmed Hussen called the Ontario government's concerns about so-called queue jumping un-Canadian. During an end-of-year interview, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said the Conservatives were trying to stoke fears over refugee claimants. In late January, the Prime Minister responded to a town hall question about Canada's migration policies with a diatribe lamenting the politics of division. And yet now, a few months later, Border Security Minister Bill Blair has defended the government's sudden overhaul of asylum laws as a measure to prevent, quote, asylum shopping. This language, apparently, is now tolerable. And that's one of the reasons, this is me now, that I wanted to read you this article. I find it as crazy as Miss Urbach, Urbach does. If Andrew Scheer had said asylum shopping 10 days ago in the House of Commons, asylum shopping would have been on every front page. It would have been the worst thing that you could possibly call somebody. They would have like shopping carts with anti-hate or something like that. They would do ridiculous things with it. But now, because it's liberal talking point 101, and I'll show you that it is, I've got a video with Ahmed Hussen saying asylum shopping, right? And now that it's their talking point, no problem. I find that so strange. Okay, back to the article. Buried in this year's omnibus budget implementation bill is a series of amendments to the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act that essentially disqualify asylum seekers who have made a claim for refugee protection in any other country. Once the bill receives royal assent, an asylum seeker can be deported without a hearing, which would seem to violate the charter as affirmed by Singh versus Canada, where the Supreme Court determined that charter rights extend to everyone physically on Canadian soil. And pause, I'm going to talk again, because I've had, back when I used to go on Facebook, and I really don't go on Facebook much at all anymore, but when I used to talk with people, I would say, listen, there is a legal way we can get this done. We can use a notwithstanding clause, because this is national security now. We're not talking like 10 or 12 people. We're talking about a huge influx and then an increase, again, like a baby boom of those people, and all of that on the Canadian dime, right? And we don't know what that looks like, except that we do, because Paris and the United Kingdom and a whole bunch of European countries are going through exactly the same thing. And our government is completely ignoring it until right now. They're calling people names, racist, un-Canadian, until right now. And now it's asylum shopping. We've got to stop asylum shopping. What woke them up? What stopped them? Oh, right. It's the fact that they were on track to get zero seats, probably. Right? Oh, guys, we got to do something. We got to throw them something. It doesn't mean they're actually going to do anything. Look at the last 3 years. The best predictor of your future behavior, what did you do yesterday? That's exactly what these people are going to do. They are not going to, if they follow through with this, they'll undo it all in the 2020 budget. I don't trust them. Like I said many times, I don't trust Justin Trudeau to water my plants. Not at all. Okay, back to the article. Many Canadians will nevertheless welcome the Liberals' unexpected about-face on asylum seekers. 2/3 of respondents to an Angus Reid poll published back in August thought the border situation had reached a crisis point. More than half said that Canada was too generous toward asylum seekers who crossed into Canada illegally. A more recent Ipsos poll found that 47% of respondents believe most migrants aren't actual refugees. They just want to come to Canada for its economic benefit. Perhaps Blair has the summary on his desk. This is to say, as if there were any doubt that the Trudeau government's decision to enact the sweeping changes to Canada's asylum provision is just a crass political move. It will come into force months before an election, when illegal border crossing is actually on the decline and right on side with public opinion in favor of toughening up the asylum laws. Yeah, it's a political trick. Back to the article. Tabling a standalone bill on changes to the Immigration Act and Refugee Protection Act, as one would reasonably expect of policy changes of such enormous importance as Canada's treatment of vulnerable people fleeing persecution, would take too long and be subject to debate and revisions and multiple readings and so forth. By using an omnibus bill, something the Liberals vowed they would never do, these changes can go into effect right away, eliminating a potentially defining wedge issue. Sure, it is potentially unconstitutional, but that can be and will be sorted out later. 3.5 years is not a long time to go from sunny ways and 25,000 Syrian refugees to deportations without hearings and unconstitutional amendments. This is the type of real politic on the backs of refugees, of all people, that is the sort of soulless stargazing we're supposed to expect of the other guys, the ones who talk about queue jumpers and Canadian values and shopping around for places to seek asylum. But without the sun lighting the way, it's hard to tell everyone apart. Yeah, kind of looks like the libcons. Here is Ahmed Hussen calling asylum seekers crossing from Quebec what we've all been calling them for the last couple of years. Illegal asylum shoppers. Queue jumpers. Mr. Hussen, thanks for catching up to the rest of us. Here you go. Sorry about the volume. It's as up as it can go.
We remain committed to providing safe haven to those who flee persecution. We have a robust domestic asylum system. What this measure is really about is to prevent asylum shopping, which is something that the United Nations supports us on. Someone who fears persecution should claim asylum in the first safe country that they are able to do, and that's what this measure really addresses.
So, if that had happened when this garbage had started, instead of calling everybody racist, maybe people would be able to solve problems in a debate, let's have a conversation about how we can solve this problem, rather than, hey, can't we solve this loophole? No, you're racist. Whoa, okay. Wild, right? It's so weird. Here he is calling Lisa MacLeod un-Canadian.
Ontario, sadly, has chosen the language of fear and division. They've chosen to intentionally use language that could potentially criminalize asylum seekers in the minds of Canadians. They've intentionally chosen to use false language with respect to so-called queue jumping, when we have told them over and over again there's no such thing. Asylum seekers are processed in a separate queue at the IRB, and all the other regular immigration programs are processed by IRCC. And conflating the two knowingly is irresponsible, it's divisive, it's fear-mongering, and it is not Canadian.
And I'll leave him there, and then we'll jump up ahead, because I want to have Ms. McLeod have a chance to rebut as well, because he lays out a bunch of stuff that, like there's separate queues, et cetera, and Ms. McLeod addresses some of those things. So I want to give her a chance to speak as well. Here we go. There we go.
Challenged the Minister of Federal Immigration on some of the issues we're confronting in Ottawa. The exchange became testy, and I chose to leave the meeting, and here is why. In the city of Toronto alone, we have over 2,400 people that are in temporary shelters. That is surpassing what the capacity is for the city of Toronto. We know that that is a $74 million bill. My city of Ottawa, our mayor has indicated that our shelter capacity is also over capacity, and therefore they are requiring about $11 million to deal with that. As the minister responsible for Ontario Works, which is our welfare system, I have inquired into what this has had an impact on our welfare rolls. Presently, for all refugee claimants, we are supporting them with $328 million. Of that, $90 million, we believe, can be attributed to those who have crossed the border illegally.
So, and I'm just going to leave it there. The link is in the description. You can watch the whole thing for yourself. The point is, we were being called names for this. We were being, anybody who disagreed with complete open borders. And this bled into social media. This bled into newspapers. This was pushed hard. If you said we should have closed borders and controlled immigration, that was seriously wrong. If you said we should not be allowing these people to come into Canada and then put them up in a hotel, they need to be vetted, they need to be removed, people would piously say to me, as soon as they touch Canadian ground, they deserve a hearing. The refugees deserve a hearing. And I said, nobody from New York is a refugee. Nobody from New York is a refugee. I'm sorry. But maybe after the height of it and started hitting the press and human traffickers got word of it, they started getting some real refugees to get a plane ticket, land in New York, and get a taxi to the Quebec border. But at the beginning, this wasn't a thing. Before Justin Trudeau opened the borders and sent tweets and made Canada an open border country, this wasn't a thing. It wasn't a problem. And asking for it to be fixed is a reasonable, rational thing to do when you have a vested interest in a country. And you have a vested interest in a country if you live in the country. The taxes you pay should stay in the country, unless there's a natural disaster or something that you can help fix. But the taxes you pay should stay in your country. We have healthcare to pay for. We have an aging population, and we're broke, and we have no gold. The gold reserves in Canada are zeroed out. It's not racist to ask questions. It's not racist to want to solve problems. It's not racist to say, is this in the best interest of Canadians to allow these people across the border, and have zero questions about the legal implications of it, of not vetting these people. And oh, it's so frustrating, so frustrating. Yesterday I did a video about the white supremacy stuff, and somebody compiled all of them. I miss Chagger. I can't believe I miss Bardish Chagger. Goodness me. I got everybody else though. So, and others that this one didn't get. But yeah, the white supremacy push is as real as the un-Canadian push. You know, you're un-Canadian, you're a white supremacist if you disagree with our policies. And if you disagree with our policies, you're not even worth debating. You're going to ask a question. I'm going to completely ignore it in favor of talking points. Oh, yes, it's our favorite Justin Trudeau game. How's he going to dodge the question today? I'm going to show you a couple of clips on this one. And yeah, I'm going to try and keep it short, but, well, you know me. Okay, here we go.
The Prime Minister wants to talk about politicians who have led Canadians in error. This Prime Minister said when the allegations were first printed in the Globe and Mail that they were completely false. We now know that is not true. Is the Prime Minister aware that if he says something that he knows not to be true in a court proceeding, that he will be guilty of perjury?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We
we've seen the Conservatives time and time again mislead Canadians, and they are smarting that we actually called them out on it. We put them on notice because, indeed, they continue, particularly in this election year, to spread falsehoods to Canadians. Just recently, they actually sent a householder to Canadians that was not telling them about our climate action incentive, which returns hundreds of dollars to Canadians that they have to claim through their taxes. They have.
I hope you understand how ridiculous this is. This is the leader of the government saying the opposition leader didn't mention our plan in his advertisement. How do you... That's not how business works, Justin. That's not how government works either. Their job isn't to push your policy. Their job is to push their policy. And then you guys are supposed to work out what's the best policy to put forward. Oh my goodness. Somebody should really explain this to Justin Trudeau.
Have no plan on the environment. All they do is mislead Canadians. All they do is mislead Canadians about our plan.
And I'll cue up the next clip. There's just a couple more. So in this clip, again, he's asked about perjury, like, do you understand there will be consequences if you lie? And then Justin Trudeau goes off on a different tangent. I want to point out again, like, if he doesn't have the respect to even enter in a conversation with people about what the question was. I mean, really, like, is that acceptable to anybody? It's not acceptable. It shouldn't be acceptable. It's just not acceptable. Here we go.
Speaker, the Prime Minister says that he's put me on notice, hoping that I'll withdraw my statements. I'm not. I repeated them again outside. So I'm putting him on notice that I'm looking forward to the day that he sets for this court case to proceed. But when it comes to falsehoods, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister stated that his excuse for interfering in this court case was because of jobs. We now know that that isn't true either. So once again, is the Prime Minister aware of the criminal penalties for committing perjury in a court case?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I can understand the member opposite's frustration. His economic plan is in shambles. After 10 years of the lowest growth rate since the Great Depression under Stephen Harper, we turned that around with an approach that invests in Canadians and therefore...
Okay, I can't do it. He's invoking Harper again, and it's so, I just wanted to show you he doesn't even try to start answering the question. And one more, the last one, I promise. All right, here's the question.
I guess his famous "just watch me" has turned into a "just watch me run away." Will he have the backbone to stand by his threats and show up in court to fight this case?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
What we have here is a Conservative Party flailing and floundering, trying to change the subject away from what matters to Canadians. They have no plan to fight climate change, no plan on the economy, and quite frankly, have continued to demonstrate, despite the rejection they got from Canadians in 2015, they still don't understand that the economy and the environment need to go together. And to build a stronger economy, you have to take action on fighting climate change.
Right? So the question was, do you understand that if you lie in court that you'll have a consequence? And he pivots to climate change, and they don't have a plan, and they're flailing about. Justin Trudeau is projecting. He is projecting. He is describing his situation. He is in a very, very bad situation. He has no crown jewel to say, this is what I've done. He opened the borders. He has bankrupted us. He's shut down Alberta. He is allowing SNC to call the shots and change his attorney general. He is not in charge of his party, and he's flailing around and has no clue what's going on, and he's projecting. He knows Canadians see somebody flailing around, but at this point in time, it's Justin Trudeau. Absolutely 100% Justin Trudeau. Here's a Liberal talking head, and this is the most ridiculous thing. Again, this is the marching order. This is the plan. This is what they've been told to say.
What's next? Will Justin Trudeau take him to court? Well, clearly, look, Peter, Canadians will judge on the behavior of an opposition leader that chooses to break the law. And the test of whether someone behaves in a legal fashion or not shouldn't be whether you get dragged into court or not. And you'll certainly agree with me on that. That shouldn't be the standard of behavior of an opposition leader that chooses to break the law. And the test of whether someone behaves in a legal fashion or not shouldn't be whether you get dragged into court or not. And you'll certainly agree with me on that. That shouldn't be the standard of behavior, particularly.
sorry about that. The speed was too fast, but they're trying to blame Andrew Scheer for his conduct on the Twitter stuff instead of addressing Justin Trudeau's court stuff, right? Like Justin Trudeau threatened to take Andrew Scheer to court, and they're saying Andrew Scheer's behaving very poorly. And sorry about the speed. I'm not going to play it again because this video is already too long. Two more quick stories today. One, Global News is reporting more children and teens are having suicidal thoughts, but experts can't pinpoint why. Well, I'm not going to go through the article. I'm just going to give you my idea. When you 24/7 tell children that the earth is going to end in 10 to 12 years unless all of their parents give all of their money to Justin Trudeau or some form of taxes, and even then, probably, don't worry about it, but yeah, the world's going to end anyway. Maybe they're going to be higher anxiety, and maybe they're going to say, well, maybe the earth would be better without me, especially if there's a 24/7 run on have one less child. Maybe you shouldn't have children at all. Maybe kids are thinking, maybe they don't want me here. Maybe I'm destroying the planet. Kids are very, very, very smart and very soft-headed in that they will be turned by propaganda easily. And if you have a 24/7 diet of this crap, and this is crap, and 20-year-olds are eating it up, and 30-year-olds who are childless are eating it up, and not looking at it critically, all of it. And it's demoralizing. No wonder people are depressed. No wonder. The fact that experts can't pinpoint why, because there's 100 reasons, and it's the way we live. My goodness. So disappointing. And this last one is Ottawa City Treasurer transfers $130,000 of taxpayer funds to email fraudsters. I just want to know what kind of investigation's going on to fix this kind of stuff, right? Ottawa's city treasurer was scammed into wire transferring more than $100,000 of taxpayer funds to a fraudster after she fell for an email scam, according to the city's Auditor General's office. Last July, Ottawa city treasurer Maureen Similuk received an email from an address she thought belonged to the city manager, Steve Canellos. Sorry if I've got that wrong. In the email, someone posing as Canellos asked Similuk if the wire transfer to wire transfer nearly $98,000 or approximately 130,000 Canadian dollars to pay a city supplier. After several email exchanges with the fraudsters, Similuk agreed to send the funds to the U.S. bank account later that day. 5 days later, the city treasurer received another email from the same account asking her to transfer another $150,000 or 200,000 Canadian to the same company to complete the bill payment. This time, Similuk was sitting near Canolis in a meeting where the email came in, so she asked him about it in person. When he didn't know what she was talking about, they both realized she'd been the victim of a scam. Right. I mean, it's quite convenient to be like, oh man, those fraudsters, $130,000 taxpayer money down the drain. Shucks, eh? I mean, yeah, it's a mistake and whatever, but there's more to this. And if this is a sophisticated thing that is happening regularly, why aren't businesses being notified? Why aren't governments and treasurers for city councils being notified? Right? We have bulletins for a reason. There are police services in our country still. No? Well, they don't care about money laundering, so maybe this is part of it too. Anyway, thank you for watching. I know this is a long one today. We had to get through the Ahmed Hussen videos and the Un-Canadian videos, and well, I talk for a long time. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca.